Hello and welcome on behalf of the Museum of Art and Photography. In our final talk in the series Art as Witness, I'm delighted to welcome the world-renowned godmother of performance art, Marina Abramović, and India's most well-known performance artist, Nikhil Chopra. The one very positive thing about this pandemic is that it has given us the ability to bring people who we may never otherwise have been able to pin down in the same time and place together to have conversations with. And our two speakers this evening are an excellent example of this. I'm sure for most people listening in, they will need no introduction, but I do want to say just a few words to remind us all of their distinguished practice. Marina Abramović, born in 1946 and raised in communist Yugoslavia. Over the past 5 decades, Marina has developed a pioneering and significant body of conceptual and performance work that explores physical and mental limits, withstanding both pain and danger, and incorporating the element of time as a tool to achieve transformation and transcendence. Today, we are going to hear from her directly about her practice, and I'm sure you're all as excited as I am to do so. Marina also founded the Marina Abramović Institute, MAI, in order to expand the accessibility of time-based work and create new possibilities for collaboration amongst thinkers of all fields. Nikhil Chopra, born in Calcutta in 1974 and currently lives in Goa. He's a performance artist who focuses on subjects of identity, autobiography, and, like Marina, the politics of transformation. His performances often contemplatively draw upon the remnants of India's colonial past and personal identity. Nikhil's characters and performances often bend gender and identity, space and time, collapsing the boundaries between theater and several other artistic practices, including set design, costume and makeup design, sculpture, photography, and video documentation. Please note that full biographies of both artists will be shared on the chat box. And please do send in any questions that you have through the Q&A box at the bottom of the screen. Now, without further ado, I'm going to hand over to you, Marina.
Hello. First of all, I'm so excited to talk to such a large Indian audience. You know, from my country, at the time of Tito, was such a big friend of Indira Gandhi, and she visited our country so many times. And I was always interested in India. And finally, the first time in 1979, so Nikhil was just a baby that time, I came to India. And the first trip I made was Bodh Gaya, which was really the place where the Buddha got enlightenment. And then I went up and down many years, every time to India. So to me, India is something which I can call the spiritual mother, which I learned so much. And also in many, many ways, lots of that knowledge that I learned in India, I apply to my work. So let's talk about the work. First, who am I? I'm an artist. And people always say, how you become an artist. And I really believe that you actually never become an artist. You're born like that. You're born with a gift. And you have to recognize this gift as soon as possible. I recognized that gift when I was 12 years old, when I really made my first exhibition in Belgrade of paintings. And I was always jealous of Mozart, because Mozart made his first concert when he was 7. And I was thinking, oh my God, this is already too late. But anyway, this was my first exhibition. First exhibition, I was thinking about, clouds and car accidents and my dreams. Dreams is something that was given to you. So you dream the dream, and then next morning you paint the dream. It was very simple. And then, I painted till I was about 18, 19. And I remember that very important moment in my life when I was painting clouds at that time. And different type of clouds. Clouds were coming, clouds were going, projections, clouds were attacking the humans, black shadows, and so on and so on. And then one day I was lying in the field, look in the sky. And that particular moment, there was no clouds. There was totally nothing, just absolutely, blue sky. And out of nowhere came 12 military planes and made this drawing in the sky. And that drawing in the sky, I was looking how it was formed and how it was dissolving and disappearing and became again just blue sky. And after that, something happened to me, almost like revelation. I understood that why I have to go to studio and make something which is two-dimensional when I just can go to nature and use the planes, use the air, use the water, use the fire, use my own body and make the art. And then, I remember went to military base and asked, there if they can borrow me 12 planes. And they call my father and say, your little daughter is totally crazy, how much cost to have planes to make the stupid drawings in the sky. So, they send me home. But this was not important anymore. Important was the decision that I'm going to use my own body. And that makes a huge difference. When I made my first performance, I never forget that. First, I was terribly nervous, but the moment I stood in front of the public, everything disappeared. I felt like some kind of organic connection with my public. And I felt this energy dialogue is happening between me and the public. And the more I went into the performance, the more I actually felt that almost like electricity and total presence be there, here and now. And I knew this was my medium. I knew this was something that I always wanted to do. And this is, how I become a performance artist. I also believe in life of an artist. It's very important to discover his medium. Some artists are great painters. Some artists are great sculptors. Some people are making, the poetry. Some are making films, writing the books. But you have to know what is your medium to express yourself the best. And I was so lucky that I found performance. And now it's, 50 years of my career, and I'm still doing it because that's my medium. This is what I really stand for. So now, for the larger audience, it's really important to tell to the public, I'm not explaining the video, the work you're seeing on the screens. I'm just talking about generally, what is performance, what performance meant. The images here right now, just so I can stop for the moment. This is the image of, I worked with Ula, he was my partner for 12 years. And our last work was to walk the Great Wall of China. I start from the, Yellow Sea and we start from Gobi Desert. And we each walked 2,500 kilometers to say goodbye and stop working together and living together. So there was a very dramatic moment, just this as we look. But okay, so for the public who are really interested more about work, you can always Google and see videos and see, the writings and conversations and lectures and so on and read the books. But what I want to tell to a large public is to explain what it really is performance. So it's performance, many artists, if you ask what is the performance, have a different description of this medium. But I think the performance it's actually you decide as an artist the time and place when the public are going to come, and then you create mental and physical construction in which you enter, where energy dialogue between public and you is happening, and that actually in that period of time that you decide performance happen. And anything, if the performance is 3 hours, 3 months, 12 days, whatever time performance takes, this is actually whatever happened there. If electricity stop or earthquake, whatever is a part of the piece. So this piece you just see right now, it's performance that I made 12 days, and it's called House with Ocean View. So you ask yourself, where is the ocean there? The ocean for me is the minds of the public. I create in this performance 3 units. Go back in 3 units where I actually live in. And I wanted without any food for 12 days, only drinking pure water. I was interested, if I purify myself, can I purify the audience? Can I purified atomic energy of the space and see how the audience I can bring in a here and now present time. So for me, it was really important to be in the performance now. If you are performing and you mind you're in Honolulu or in Thailand or wherever, and with your body in the front of audience, you actually miss it. Miss it that moment here and now, because performance is about that moment. We need to learn to live in the present. Past already happened, future didn't. And especially when you're now in this incredible time of coronavirus, all what we have is the present, because future is unknown. Future, we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know how this is going to develop. So we are in here and now. And it's really important to embrace that moment without fear and really surrender to it. It's really important thinking about performance also, how we prepare for the performance. It's not easy medium. People think, oh, it's easy. Like, I done performance 3 months sitting in Moma Museum and, 7 hours a day and 10 hours when museum is open on Friday, 10 hours. Or she said, oh, she's just sitting doing nothing. I just ask anybody of you, just sit 3 hours motionless and see how difficult it is. India have a great the history of meditation, but still, 3 months every single day, 8 hours a day, it's for the Western person, it's a pretty difficult thing to do. But it's very important to prepare your body. For that particular performance, I prefer myself like astronaut, preferring to go to the Mars or to the moon. I have to change my digestion. So I could only eat by night and drink the water by night. And then during the day, I could not do any of this because I was motionless. I never stood up from the chair. I never moved. I never went to the bathroom. I never eat anything. So I changed the time metabolism. It took me 1 year to do that. So it's not easy. For me, it was very important to make my institute, because my institute is my legacy and is really based on a few different things. First, preservation of traditional performance art and really acknowledge the history. Second, learn the young performance artists how to do long durational works, which is longer than a few hours, but very long time. Because in my practice, I realized that more I do long durational performance, the more transformation is happening on myself. And that transformation, I can also influence public who is watching it. So the long duration performance is most transformative form of art. And the Institute is based on this long duration work. We also can visit website and see what we are doing there. I think that thinking about, future performance art, it's interesting to think about. Even in now that we have the social distance and we need the public, still performance never die. Performance is like a phoenix. He's always been born from his own ashes. The time when economic crisis comes, performance comes into the scenes, because performance doesn't cost much and is available. And the time the economy goes well, then the art becomes commodity, and then you have them sell for the millions of dollars. But performance is not that category. We are really there to change something in our culture, to give awareness to the public. Performance can't change lives, but can really give you the way. So I'm interested now to talk to our friend Nikhil Chopra, who is a wonderful performance artist and also long durational one. And I would really love to see how the public can ask us any question they want, because it's really important for me interaction with the public. Public, for me, the public and the performer make the work. The performance without public, to me, doesn't exist. This is two things who actually create vibration, create energy, dialogue, is the public and the performer. So, Nikhil, hello, how are you in Goa?
I'm very well, actually, and I have to say that I consider myself really privileged, in this time to be in a place where there's lots of open space. And you were talking about how looking at the sky, has triggered a whole lifetime of practice. Is that moment when you look at the sky and you commune with nature. I think that you really start to realize that you are not a superhuman. You are a part of this nature. And that, it's a really humbling feeling. I've grown up in cities all my life, and I'm just surrounded by trees and bird song and monsoon rain. And, I consider myself very, very very, very blessed, to live here.
I just had a few days such experience. I have a little pond with the water here, and I was sitting and looking the pond, and the little chipmunk, not really did he fall into the water, he jumped into the water, swim, and define little steps and walk out. I was just waiting for him to get a towel and dry himself like a Disney movie. So everything is live here. The rabbits are jumping, the deers are having the little babies, the butterflies are making loud. The nature is so awake right now. It's so clean, it's so vibrant. And I'm here 3 months in upstate New York in my house, which is in nature. And I never been 3 months in one place for the last 50 years. My life is such a hectic, it's so incredibly stressful. I am dealing with the long duration performances with meditation, but my life, it's very stressy if I'm not performing, because I have to travel. I am the work. I can't send the work in the box. I'm the work. So tell me, just describe me how your day look like. What time you wake up? What you do during the day?
Well, I have 2 children, and they are very much 2 growing creatures. Each one of them has a whole universe inside of them.
How old they are?
So my son is 11, he's going to be 12, and he's almost as tall as me. So he's going to be a little giant, I think, a skinny giant. And my daughter is 7, and she's a firecracker, She's a full drama queen, and she keeps us really beautifully entertained. So it's been actually a lot of bonding time with children. I wake up in the morning and I have a cup of tea. That is a very sacred moment, actually.
Is this the famous chai with the cardamom seeds?
This is the famous chai. The famous chai. And I kind of want to make it kind of like a doctor a little bit, just that everything in that morning tea has to be perfect, or as close to perfect as possible. And so, just sitting and sipping my morning tea, the whole day becomes really clear to me of what I will do today. And I'm really happy because I get to spend a lot of time in my studio, which is literally like 10 steps away from here. And I can close my door and I can just dive into my world of drawings, which I'm so happy to do. And feel like I can totally relate to you when you say that you are, for the first time in your life, as your working career, to be in one place for 3 months. And I really feel the same way, because we can't really send our work. We have to be there. Our bodies have to be present there. So I'm trying to be present here right now. I'm trying to be present in my studio. And I do think about just the time that we spend in our studio is that meditation, and that, in a sense of the ritual that we create as artists. I've never had that luxury, actually. So since the past 3 months, I'm really enjoying spending time while the kids are running around in the house and making a noise. I still find that performance has given us this power, and you might agree with that, is to be able to not just to block, but also to understand the world around us And the work always continues, it never stops, because, you have given yourself that thing to do, and that thing must be done. So, even if there was a volcano going on, you might still be in your world.
But which is so incredibly interesting that I never had before. My life was so incredibly programmed. I knew, I had the shows in 2025, in plan, and now everything's canceled. I mean, literally, the only thing that I'm so lucky is that I have a premiere of my opera 1st of September. It's the piece is called Life and Death of Maria Callas, and it's my first opera with I'm directing and playing. And it's about, women dying for love. In every opera, women die for love, for jealousy, or the man killed her, or whatever, So I took all the deaths from different operas, put them together as one opera. And then normally opera is like 4, 5, 6 hours. But my opera is only 1.5 because deaths are so short. So and then it's all dedicated to the Callas who really died from actually broken heart, from love. And the Bayerische Opera is going to premiere 1st of September. So now I have to actually travel next week and take 2 weeks quarantine and then rehearse and then perform. But the opera have 3,000 seats, but we can only perform for 200 people because social distancing. It's a kind of mess. And I never had that kind of reduced audience. I never had this kind of circumstances. And then all other premieres in different theaters that we have to do in Europe, they're all canceled for next year. And now there's lots of horoscope readings, that I'm consulting. The Indians are very big in horoscopes. But looks like that September, there's lots of crises, violences, the demonstrations, the Mars, very bad aspects of Mars. So we are not facing good time, and the epidemic is going to come back. So we are living in the time that we can't plan. That's such an important time. I believe that time that you can't plan, and you have to confront with your fear of unknown, it's really time of personal, mental, physical, emotional transformation. What do you think?
Don't you feel, absolutely, and don't you feel that now that all of us have been forcefully been put in these situations where we are isolated, and where a lot of us, let's say, who have to live alone, for example, and I'm sure you were able to relate to that. And for the first time, I've been thinking that, how will people read performance? How will people read the work you do? How will people read the work, let's say, Melati does, or Alistair McLennan does, or what I do, in this world that we isolate ourselves in, and in a sense we are become, in a sense, aliens, if you can think about it that way. And, and I'm feeling that probably the whole world is going through this alienation experience of not being able to hug, not being able to kiss, not being able to come together and touch each other. What does it mean for people to not be touched for like so many months, or sit around a dining table with your family and or your friends and enjoy a really nice dinner and a couple of drinks and laugh loudly and not feel afraid. In a sense, we're all as vulnerable as we are when we put our bodies out there, in front of
the one thing that I'm incredibly much missing, that I see that totally disappear, is humor. There's no humor. There's no politically not correct, dirty jokes. There's nothing. I love it. I see there is something to do with this political correctness who took creativity away, completely. Because that political correctness, if we had, as we have now, in the 70s, 80s, 90s, we could not do 80% of our work because it would be impossible. And really something is wrong in the approach to humor. And I think loving is so important. Always His Holiness Dalai Lama said, that when he starts any speech, he starts with a joke. Love, to open the heart. First, you have to open the heart with laughing, and then you can tell the terrible truth after that. but you have
Yes.
to, and there's no humor. There's something on the wall that right now I notice. No humor at all.
And yeah, I think the laughter is really, I mean, it is really important because, like one of my aunties once said to me, she was in her 60s, 70s, and she said to me, um, in India, if you can't laugh about it, you will only cry about it. So, the way in which we get by our, so many hurdles on a day-to-day basis is to laugh about it. Otherwise I feel like we will be crushed. Humor is
But
so important. It allows you to take risks, right? And I think that that's something that I have. If I can just talk a little bit about risk, I think that it has been so inspiring for me as a young artist to look at the risks you take. And like humor, I think it's a risk, of either people will laugh really loudly at your joke or people will not laugh. And so I think that that's the beauty of also the uncertainty of how someone reacts to what it is that you present to them. And you take so many risks, and you've taken so many risks. um, and what is, I feel like, what is our relationship with risk now, right? When we decide to go outside, or we decide to go to the supermarket, or we decide to meet a couple of friends for a chat, what is the risk suddenly we take? What is the risk we take when we have a big fat chocolate cake, um so I don't know what do you feel about taking risks? I don't know, how do you think
one
about
thing,
that?
taking risk, it's a really personal choice that how secure it is, to go to supermarket with lots of people, but you still have the mask, and I think risk is less. And I felt that here, now I'm making the trip, taking the plane and so on, it will be risky. But more thing that really bothers me is not so much risk, because I'm used to take risks. It's not a big deal. But the thing that really bothers me is the actually compromise. There's so many people ask me if I can do Zoom performance, if we can show the work, but then without human interaction. That kind of stuff. And everybody wants some kind of art. And then you end with the very bad Zoom performances I see around the world, with the horrible technology. And I don't want to present my work in that way, what I can do. And also, if you need interaction with the public, what that compromise because of coronavirus actually means. I'm not ready for compromise. I always believe that will pass, and then we will have our work uncompromised and deliver in the way they should be. So I prefer not to do it than do the compromise. What is your approach to compromise?
Yeah, absolutely. It's like I felt that, I did through this time, I did a couple of performances online, like a performance lecture, and it felt very disconnected. It felt so disconnected. And the worst feeling was hanging up on the phone call and the meeting ending and shutting your laptop, and I'm still in costume and I have all this makeup on me. And I felt like, let down, in a sense, that the cycle wasn't complete, because I feel that so much of what we do is always reflected in the eyeballs of people. The image is created in the flesh, and you should be able to smell a little bit of the sweat in the room, and you should be able to feel the dust on your hands and on your face. I want the people to feel the little spit flying from from your mouth when but this is the most basic human experience, is coming close to each other. And I feel that risk that we take when we meet each other to hug or to greet each other or to talk passionately and spit flying from our mouth as we do that has become so clinical. And I really feel that when will we be comfortable with each other and trust that
But,
we are not a
but
disease, but we are human beings,
But I was looking in the past, how you call the Black Pest, in the medieval times, how you call this?
The Dark Ages.
The Dark Age, but there was this epidemic.
The plague.
The plague. The plague. You know how long it was lasting? I was looking the time. You're going to be shocked. You know how many years? 15 years. So 15 years, that time, the people, I don't know how many million people on this planet died from the black plague. So now we're talking 1 year, maybe talking 1 more year till vaccination comes. But actually that's nothing in time of human history. And so we have to be ready that, that actually is still not going to happen anything dramatic and any change, that you have to be ready for solitude. We have to be ready to, not fear anymore, and go introspective, go inside of you instead of outside. Really be with yourself, see what changes you can do. And I always believe if you change yourself, you can change thousands. That's something that works that way.
Absolutely, absolutely. We should all be striving, and we are changing, right? We're changing every single minute, every breath we take, we change just so little. And I think it's really important to recognize that change and determine that change. Be the change.
Another little story, Matisse, during the Second World War, the Second World War, everybody was, painting atrocities of the war and the difficulties and, the whole thing that was reflecting the society as it was. But Matisse was painting only flowers. That's it. So I really think that we have to develop optimistic point of view with lots of humor, with lots of love, and do something which is just opposite what actually is around us. I actually stopped paying television station here, not to see television. I don't, everything you open is a bad news. And it's so important to actually create in yourself good news. We need good news.
Yes.
With the good news and positive energy, everything can change. Every day can be the most wonderful day of your life. So this is the kind of tools we have as an artist to give example to others.
Well, absolutely. Absolutely. We are... would you like for us to, should we take questions from audiences? Because I can see 25 questions on my.
Oh my God, let's do one. Let's do
But maybe Shilpa can help us to sort of filter through some of the questions and ask.
Come on, we answer all of them. Yeah, let's go. Let's go, number one. Should
I answer or should we do this?
All right.
Yes.
Okay, so the first question from Jeffrey Plank is the art of performance always about limits or crossing limits?
Okay, so let's answer this. I'm going to answer this question because I'm older than you.
Yes.
I'm taking advantage. When you perform, I always believe that the person has to give not 100%, but 150% of himself. 100% is just not enough. When you do 100%, that's okay, I respect it for you. But when you do 50% more over that 100, you're pushing your limits. And I always think it's about pushing the limits and see where the limits are. You should not go over your limits, but you should push them as far as you can. Second question is Chopra. Okay.
So I feel that when you cross one set of limits, you have, when you look, like when you're crossing a mountain pass, right? It's the limit of how high you can go. And when you reach the top of that mountain pass, you look behind and you look in front of where you're headed. So I think it's actually what crossing one set of limits does, it confronts you with a whole nother set of limits. So in a sense, limits don't end until you probably die, maybe, but I don't want to be morbid about that. But I just want to say that there's always another boundary after you cross the boundary,
And yeah, because there's a new task to do.
Exactly. Exactly.
We have different rules. We're going to do like this. If we answer the same question twice, then we will never end.
Exactly.
So now is the second question is you.
Okay. My sculpture teacher always told me nothing's new under the sun. So how we can control the balance between new ideas and deep ideas, because most of the time, deep ideas are not brand new ideas, are not shockingly new. Sending love from Romania.
Good question.
So I don't think anything that we do is new, actually. Whatever we do is as old as human beings themselves, as old as nature itself. I mean, like in the great words of Mahatma Gandhi, truth and non-violence are as old as the hills, right? So I feel that the way in which we reconfigure what we do is where the newness of what we do is created. It's always about recontextualizing the old in order to understand the now. So, you know, even us speaking in this language is not new, right? It's English, it has words, it has associations and connections and meanings come out of it. It's how you reframe them that the newness happens. Okay.
Next question.
Next
we are
question.
doing well.
So, Marina, what or how do you practice when the audience makes up so much of the work?
First of all, I made the 50 years of my career where I perform in the front of audience all the time. And I reach my limits, and I pass my limits, and I show all different aspects of the body. So I realized, and now I'm 73 this year, 74 actually this year, that I don't need to do this anymore, that the public is the work. So I'm working with the public because, nobody can actually go to, to change himself, looking somebody else's experience you have to make yourself. You have to make a journey. So what I'm doing, I'm learning public to experience what I experienced. Next question.
For me?
Yes, Nikhil, there's a question for you. What
inspired
you to become a performance artist?
I beg your pardon?
What inspired you to become a performance artist?
Marina! Marina played a huge part in me. Honestly, I mean, that whole period was so inspiring, with looking at Vito Conchi and Dan Graham and, the neo-Dadaists and, Chris Burden. I mean, it was insane. The energy was so strong. And, for me, as somebody who was sort of also interested in the theater, but was never being able to understand how to use my body in my art, these things were very demystifying and very, and when I looked at these things, I said, "Ooh, I think I can do that. Maybe if I was kind of created a performance, I think I could do that." And that's when I took the risk on my own body. And I felt the exact same thing that Marina was talking about, where you really feel that you're having this extremely heightened experience where you are being able to connect with the audience on a very alternate level, not part of our normal sense of reality, when people look at you not as Nikhil, but look at you as an object. And so that feeling of being able to distance myself became so exciting that I thought maybe this is my medium and I need to pursue it. Okay.
All
Marina's turn.
Marina, you probably touched upon this a little bit in your previous answer, but this question is from Raghu Vodayar, who asks, what is body to you?
Body is my house. Body is my house where I live in. And to live in this house really comfortably, you have to clean your body. So I create something called Cleaning the House. The workshops, which I would love to do once in India, that workshop. I invite, a group between 12 to 55 people. And we go 5 days without any food and now without talking. And then doing heavy physical and mental exercises to enlarge our willpower, perception, the CO limits. And then on the 6th day, we just eat the handful of rice, cook in the water with a little bit salt, with closed eyes, and very slowly. And
in
then
quotes
after
like this.
and then we can talk. And this is cleaning the house. So I clean my body twice a year, spring cleaning and the winter cleaning. And then I use my body as my tool, as the object and subject of my work. Next question.
Raghu is a fantastic performance artist from Bangalore. So
Oh my God.
really happy to see him ask questions.
Why we don't do the workshop together in India? Man?
I would love to. That would be a dream. Come on, it would be a dream.
Great. We need to get a place who is not comfortable, or is too hot, or is too cold. You know, or somewhere in Himalaya, or somewhere south.
We should do it in Kashmir.
In Kashmir is wonderful. I've been in Jaisalmer.
We could do it in
Kashmir. I've been in Kashmir. I took this crazy trip from Kashmir to Ladakh with the bus. I never forget this trip in my life.
That would be the workshop, to go from Kashmir to Ladakh on the way.
With the bus.
We stop with the bus.
I took this
workshop
trip
on the bus.
When the first snow melted. It was the most crazy trip in my life. I never forget. But that's a long story. Okay.
Okay, all right. Let me ask you, Sambit Joshi's question is, what was the initial reaction when you first proposed the idea for The Artist is Present at Moma? Or to Moma?
What is the first reaction?
So, what was their initial reaction when you proposed the idea for Artist is Present?
You mean to the museum or to me?
Yeah,
or
to the museum.
To the museum. They say that's ridiculous. They say, you know, this is the most busy city in the world. That nobody have any time for anything. This chair in the front of you is going to be empty all the time. You know, what you're going to do? And I say, I don't care. It's empty and empty. I'm going to sit there anyway. The chair was never empty. Next question.
Okay. Jayanti Madhukar asks, how important is it for you to observe and listen to the happenings around you and across the world?
Okay, then Nikhil, answer that.
Important is it to listen to? Sorry, can you repeat the question really quickly?
How important is it for you to observe and listen to the happenings around you and across the world?
Right now, as in the current state of the world, or is it as in like how important is, okay, let's say how important is it to, let me make the question up for myself. How important is it for you to listen to, let's say, people in an audience while you're doing your performance, right? What is it and how do you feel the presence of others around you when you are in your world? Is that when you are in the present, in the moment, in the now, you are aware of every single person in the room. And even if you don't know them, you can feel every single eye looking at you. And
so true, yeah.
And you know, you remember every single person that was there. You may have not even looked at their face, but there's something about that performance moment where you just become aware of every leaf, every particle, every dust particle in the room becomes you know.
You know, I have to just add something. It's so true what you say. I for me, you know, so many people say, oh, you don't care about, I'm in my world, I don't care about audience. I care so much about audience. If somebody will stand up and go to the toilet, and I have to be sure that he come back. If he doesn't come back, my performance is real shit. Okay, next question.
Okay, so I think there is a related question about some Yasmin Jahan, who's asked, have you developed any new work during the lockdown, or perhaps done any performances in your studio without viewers? So what happens when you remove the audience out of this equation?
I never in my entire life would do anything without audience. You know, to me, if I would try, these performances were always so difficult without audience, I would not do them because I knew how difficult it is, which I am always counting is the energy of audience to help me to actually pass my own limits. That extra energy you get from the public, and you only get when you're in the front of the public. In your studio, you never do.
But, you know, and I feel this exactly the same way. I draw so much energy from the gaze and the presence of people.
Yeah.
But I also always think back, Marina, and you'll also relate to this, into the great work of Sam Shea and Te-Ching Shea, of how this man, you know, I mean, can you think about his work in this day and age? You know, it's insane of how he created this incredible body of work, you know, with nobody, you know, and a machine that was recording his presence, you know. In a sense, sometimes, and I don't think this is true for all, because you have to have that like he did, you know, or he does. And I will never forget how you brought him, Marina, to Manchester, and we all had this amazing opportunity to interact with him.
Can I just tell you about Te-Ching? First of all, Te-Ching is master. We are not.
Exactly.
Because I just want the real public to know that Te-Ching is a Taiwanese artist living in New York. He made 5 works, and each work is 1 year long. Please look the website and look his work, because it's incredible. 1 year long is mind blowing. And after the 5 years of 5 works he made, he stopped working. And I asked Te-Ching, but what are you doing now? He said, I'm doing life. That's for me the proof that the work was so transformative that he doesn't need to actually work anymore. Because every artist makes his own work and he put all his ideas into that work and thinking that that will be maybe the work of his life. But then always something is missing. This is why we are making next work and next work and next work. But he succeeded in 5 years, each 1 year work, to actually transform himself. So that's why he's master.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, next.
From Shashank Satish to Marina, transcending the nowness of performances from the present to the future and reaching audiences in a different time and space, what is the role of image making or photographic documentation in performance art when framing conceptual contexts beyond embodiment?
You know, the side effects of performance art, if the performance art is immaterial form of art, and the real work is in the front of the public, in the real time and real space. Everything else comes as a product, the objects, the drawings, the things, it's different, you know, but for every artist is different matter. Let's say Nikhil will be interesting to answer this question more than me, because Nikhil actually produced this very large drawing, you know, the environment, and after he energized with his performance this thing, that stays as a work, and they stay work absolutely equally to performance. In my case, doesn't. My case is documentation. So each artist has different attitude. Can you answer this for you, Nikhil?
Yes. You know, and maybe you agree with me, Marina, on this, is that, you know, the live space is our studio, you know, and in this studio, we are making art, you know, and this art is being, turning itself also into objects, you know. It could be photographs, it could be costume, it could be certain objects. Let's say, for example, Marina, if you were to recreate that table that you created, I'm forgetting the exact name of the piece.
On the Rhythm Zero.
Exactly, where you have all of these different objects, you know, and I think that when a performance happens, it induces meaning into these objects. It induces a memory into, let's say, the clothes that you wore. I mean, you know, and the traces that you leave behind, right? Like the tire marks, Marina, that you and Ulay made with your Citroën, you know, round and round and round, is kind of like a document as well. It's also like a drawing in a sense. So, you know, whether we are making marks as in a conventional way as drawing, or whether we are making marks as we move through a room, all of that stuff is evidence and is the stuff that comes out of the live studio of a live artist.
Okay, another question from Shankarupa Basu. When you do push your limits, it influences you emotionally and physically. So how do you cope with the anxieties that trigger you?
How I cope with what? With
the anxieties that it might trigger.
First of all, anxiety is before you start. I am terrified. I have how you say, I have the cramps in my stomach. I sit in the toilet, even if I have nothing to do there, but I sit in the toilet at a safe place. And it's terrible. And then the moment I'm in the front of audience, everything disappears. There's no anxiety, there's nothing. It's just I get into that state of mind, which I call, super self, which you're the best of yourself. And then it's just me and them. And this is a love affair between me and audience, love story. And when it's finished, I give every atom of my energy to it. There's nothing left. All what I want is ice cream.
I usually want a big party at the end of it, with all my friends in a crowded bar with finally finished at the end of the line, But
it's a big deal.
It's a big deal. It's a big
deal. It's pure happiness,
It's happiness. True happiness. It's pure joy.
One thing is really important. If you give everything you can give from yourself, nothing can hurt you. Even the worst critic, I don't care because I done my best. But if I didn't do my best, that makes me sick.
Yeah, and there's a way to measure that, is we feel transformed when we do these things, and maybe maybe for 10 minutes we even transcended, maybe for that little moment you left we hope that we get there, right? We hope that we can leave our body for just that 1 second and fly above it and look down at what's going on.
Exactly.
I think
we're doing so well with this conversation. I love talking to you, and we ask. Okay, this is the deal. When Corona is finished, let's do workshop together.
100%. I would love to. It would be a dream. It would totally be a dream. Okay,
next question.
There are a couple of questions that are to basically do with the digital and, given our COVID scenario and the lack of being able to do live performances. So I'm going to pick just one that I think covers quite a few of the same ideas. But essentially, if the future is uncertain in a live scenario, will performance art become more digital? If it's more accessible, is there a future for it in the digital space? What do you think?
So, first of all, I have love and hate relation to technology. I hate technology, what it done to us, because the technology took all our time, and we become slave to technology because we are human beings have addictive nature. But at the same time, technology has lots of positive aspects. So my opinion is there's nothing wrong with technology. It's our attitude with technology which is wrong. But I am very open to the new things. I made the work with the virtual reality, and I didn't like it. I just experimented. Then I made the work with augmented reality, and I really love it. And this work is called The Life. And this augmented reality is the glasses that you have, that you can see the real life, what is around you. Like I'm sitting here with my glasses, I see my room, my space, my garden. But at the same time, in these glasses, there's also augmented reality that you can see. So you see both realities. This interests me. I made a performance recorded on 36 movie camera, and actually what I create, it was creating myself from that image, 3-dimensional. And it's like incredible experience. In augmented reality, your image is made out of the computer images, still images, and actually create avatar, which is not you. But in this case, with the movie camera, it's real you. And this real you can actually create you for immortality. So one day, when I'm not around and you put the glasses, I'm sitting in your living room, I'm in your bathroom, I'm anywhere you want. So now we create this piece, The Life. And this is the piece that it was so expensive to do it because, a 36 camera, the filming is 17 minutes because that's the limit, technological limit. And each minute takes 22 hours to download. So it's just insanely expensive. So we are trying, the producers, the team Drum, is trying to sell this on Christie's in September. So we're going to see if it's possible to sell the part of me, in particular my atomic energy, into the world as a first augmented reality piece. and pay the production cost of this hugely expensive thing. So let's see what will happen. But I'm very interested in augmented reality, because augmented reality, you know, if you see video and you see the film, you still can feel the energy of the performer or the actor or whatever. But this is only two-dimensional. But can you imagine this 136 film cameras? So it's close to life, and it's also stop the time. The time stops, because in here and now there's no time.
All right.
Okay. Wow. What is your to augmented reality? Did you try anything?
Yes, I have. In fact, one of the magazines, I think it was Platform Magazine, where people could bring their cell phone cameras to the picture, and there was a code that would read, and then the magazine cover would come to life on their phone. And that was really interesting. And then you could see the transformation that a 4-camera performance went through. But, you know, I have to say that, you know, while these are very exciting, I feel that at the core of what we do, or what I do, is really about being there and being
But what if you're dead?
I don't know. If I'm dead, I'm dead. And
no, you're dead. Augmented reality,
could be
more actually the reminder of yourself than video or the photography or this. You just
yeah.
But you have to get better to have more value.
Yes. Yeah. I also feel that, you know, like in a sense that if the body is not present, right, then is there a way for us to look at, let's say, this archive that you created, Marina? Like, you know, it's every page of, let's say, some of the books that I have with you in them. You know, even if it's the most ugliest documentation, like the piece that you and Ulay did in Documenta, Expanding in Space. I mean, it's the most shitty quality of image, you know, and you see just 2 blurry bodies actually. But the what is going on in that is for me so powerful that, you know, sometimes you feel that it's really the performance and the work that has to have the power. So whether there was somebody's cell phone there, or whether there was a high-end HD camera over there, you know, at the end of the day, I think it's what is that the body is doing that creates the feeling of being there. And like, I felt like I was there with you and Ulay in Documenta, standing in the crowd, feeling the presence of how you bodies were slamming against that wall. I mean, I think about it now and I get goosebumps. So
Nikhil, let's ask the most funny question of all. What is the funny question? Do we have some humor in these questions?
Well, there is Lisa Sturts, who's asked, would you, dear panelists, tell a joke, if not too risky?
I know Lisa Sturts very well. I do. She's a really good friend. Oh, amazing performer from Berlin.
I only have one. I have one performance joke we're telling all the time, because it's the most unrisky joke to tell. This is the joke. How many performance artists you need to fix light bulb? Light bulb. And the answer is, I don't know. I was there only 6 hours. Do you know any other joke, Nikhil?
Oh God, I'm so bad at spontaneous jokes. Lisa, can I call you sometime and give you a good joke when I have
Okay, we call it to tell the joke. But you know, this is not the joke, but I always, when everybody's saying to me, this is not the joke, but this is really true story. When everybody say to me, you know, this political situation with a completely insane president like Trump, you know, what you will suggest to the leaders of the countries, you know, what to do, you know, as a performance artist. And one thing I said, the only thing I suggest is to read again and again the autobiography of Gandhi. That's the really, but that's not no joke. It's just true tragic story, how we are lead
Mhm.
these days. We're complete idiots, but never mind.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
That's
there's a way to read Mahatma Gandhi's life as a kind of aesthetic performance in a sense
it's
as well.
incredibly inspiring.
It is. It is.
How are you doing with time? Do you
We are
have?
we are at the end of the evening, unfortunately, because we have very many questions. I'm looking at 90 odd questions still. So I'm unfortunately, we're not going to be able to answer all of these, but thank you all so much for sharing them. I think I'll have just one last question directed to both of you so we can wrap up with that. Essentially, it's a two-part question. One, who would you name as, if you had to list out three most important performance artists in the contemporary moment? And if you had any tips for performance artists who are just beginning, because I noticed there were a lot of questions about that. So,
What about you mean the advice about young performance
yes,
artists?
yes.
And then what is the most important artist today? You mean?
Yes, three of your top favorites today.
I would definitely not answer this because I will, it's injustice to so many good performance artists these days. And this kind of lists I hate, I hate lists like the days, you have exhibitions and you say, oh, how many transgenders in this show, how many black, Americans, how many this, how many that, what is your favorite artist? So it doesn't really work. I can only say which is my favorite artist from the past. He's dead. Is Van Gogh. I like Van Gogh. He really understood the energy and atomic electricity of our planet. But of course Yves Klein and stuff like that. But the contemporary I don't want because there's lots of good artists in the world, and they all need the chances. And I don't want to isolate by preference. But to the young performance artists, my advice, that's all different story. First of all, follow your heart. Don't look the trends and fashion. Ask yourself, are you really a performance artist or you can do something else? When I teach more than 25 years, and when artists come to me and say I want to be a performance artist, the first thing I ask him is not to tell me about his work, not to tell me about his ideas, just to stand in the front of me for at least half an hour. That's it. Just standing, it's enough to understand. You have charisma or you don't have charisma. It's all about charisma. It's something that you can learn. Everything else you can learn, but charisma is not possible. So, and then really to look deep in yourself for the story that you want to tell. Don't tell somebody else's story, which is not yours. The deeper you look into yourself, the more universal you become. So that's more or less what you would say, Chopra.
I would say to take risks. I feel that actually. I
forgot the risks. Sorry.
I feel that this is, and I don't want to bottle us and label us as a people. I feel that in India, I feel a lot of us grow up under the shelter of our parents and we become very connected. We're very connected to community in a way where we don't take risks. We don't take risks that actually threaten our identity, that threaten our sense of self, that we are afraid to actually let our true self go. And in order to kind of come to a core inside you, I think it's very important to peel past family, papa, mama, uncle, auntie. Everyone has to sit back and allow you to be who it is that you really need to be. So I would say, as much as possible, take the risk on your reputation, take the risk on your sense of character, take the risk on your sense of morality, take as many risks as you possibly can. And perhaps you'll be able to find the shaman that's sitting inside of you that'll transform all of us.
This is so beautiful, as you said. And also go to unknown, where you've never been.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Wow, this was a wonderful conversation.
Yes.
I'm so happy to see you.
To be continued.
Thank you, Marina, and thank you, Nikhil, so much for being a part of this.
It's a
And
pleasure.
it was a wonderful conversation, and I'm sure all of our attendees enjoyed it. It's not just we did at MAP. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. And
Thank
if
you,
you'd like to
Marina.
subscribe,
Thank you, Marina. Thank you, Nikhil. And we are really waiting for your performance in India. And you know, this has been our most attended event so far. And we have had more than 100 questions being asked. I'm sorry we didn't have the time for them all. But when we have you over at MAP and when you're doing a performance there, I'm sure we can get all these questions answered. Thank you so much, Nikhil. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Abhishek. It's a huge
Thank
pleasure
you.
and an honor for me. Thank you.
Now you can have dinner and I can have breakfast.
Yes, yes, yes.
Thank you, Shifa.
Kiss from me. And
Thank you for inspiring us all, Marina. Thank you so much.
thank you.